Tyler Smith with us from thehoosier.com. And I saw a post of Evan Mayakawa ranked Indiana with the top overall transfer portal activity, just in front of Louisville, ironically. And, Kentucky number 5. Where'd Michigan? Michigan's number 4. So Dusty May and Michigan doing a good job. Kansas number 6, 7, Baylor. Those two teams are ones you're going to have to watch out for next year. Kansas and Baylor, they have reloaded and retooled. It is going to be interesting. I was having this conversation last night, Tyler, with somebody. It's still, I have no idea what the Big Ten is going to look like next year right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's obviously with the new teams included as well. Yeah, it's hard to say because, last year around this time and then early fall, you thought Michigan State was going to be a top 5 team. And obviously they had an okay year, but disappointing overall. I mean, I want to go back at some point and look the last several years at the preseason rankings and how they kind of matched up for the in-season, how things ended up happening. And they're probably all over the place, but I think it'll be a competitive league. It always is. Indiana's got a great opportunity to, be at least in the top tier, top echelon of the Big Ten. And, they've done a lot of work on paper. Now they got to go put it on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know what Indiana is going to look like for the most part, although they still have those 2 spots yet to fill. But that's going to be difficult because there aren't any playing minutes left, hardly. If any. You normally don't have 13 guys where all of them are expected to be able to play. And Indiana's already at that right now with the 11 that they have. They've all played substantial minutes either in Bloomington or elsewhere. So those final 2 spots are going to be difficult, I think, for Indiana to fill. I don't know that they fill both of them. I'm not in the school that thinks that you shouldn't, but is it 2 years in a row they went with an open scholarship?
Well, I know, this past year without that last scholarship filled, obviously, as you and I have talked about it changed dramatically when they had those 2 injuries. All of a sudden that empty scholarship looks like a huge hole and missed opportunity. The way the roster is constructed this year, I don't think fans would be that up in arms if they leave an open roster spot, just because of the depth that it appears they have this time around. So ideally, they still fill those 2 spots. Maybe the big, the guy they've been looking at, or one of the 2 that they've been looking at, comes over, and then there's still a lot of names that are out there. So there could be a guy that they fill for more of a depth position. But if they do leave one open, it will not feel the same, I think, as last season when they left one open.
We will certainly look forward to that. Now, the trick for Indiana is going to be getting these guys, getting them to play together. You've got a lot of guys coming in from a lot of different places. But the fortunate thing is for Indiana, I think, is they're not freshmen. These guys have been through the rigors of college basketball. They understand that the level of which of what it's going to be played. So that should help. And quite frankly, I don't know that there's a lot of it's not the offense is not there's not a lot to it. I guess you could say for what Indiana has run over the last couple of years. So doesn't seem to be a lot to pick up there. It's defensively where they all have to make sure they're on the same page.
Yeah, and I think Rice and Carlisle's previous relationship will help. I think they'll hit the ground running together. You've got a bulk of the core that played most of the minutes last year back, so they can show them the ropes and hopefully lead. And this coaching staff's going to have some options. In one way, some fans may look at the roster and they say, well, they're kind of thin in the front court. But on the flip side of that, that's probably a good indication that they're comfortable doing what we all kind of want them to do anyway, which is to play Ballo and Renew, different times at the 5 and Baco at the 4 at different times, play some dynamic guards, in the backcourt. So ideally they do get, another big body, but more for depth, so if it's like, they end up kind of looking kind of thin in that department, it's probably a good indication that that's the route they're going to go. And that's a more modern style. That's a more dynamic looking offense. And I think especially the sense of urgency they're going to have this year, I think they're going to hit the ground running this time.
Well, and there's no question of all things, they almost have to get a backup big, just because of a lot of the things you just said, but that they don't have one right now. And that is going to be an absolute must, because we know we've seen Malik Renew staying out of foul trouble has been kind of an issue for him. Ballo is probably going to need the rest, getting up and down the floor, big man. So they virtually have to fill one of those spots with a big man without question, I would think.
Yep. That's probably, the top priority of what they're looking at still in the portal, still hundreds of names, believe it or not. So maybe somebody will even come about that's not been talked about as much. But I saw, Hatton with the one of the projections coming into Indiana. So we'll see if that happens here in the next few weeks.
Yep. It has worked to Indiana's advantage. There's been no doubt that they have been able to retool this roster, and some people are going to say, well, why weren't they doing this before? But doesn't matter. We're at the here and the now. But there's a possibility Indiana could end up going into the season as the favorite in the Big Ten. We'll have to wait and see none of that matters what you're projected as. If I were looking at it from a fan standpoint, I wouldn't want them to be picked as a favorite, because then you put a target on your back right off the bat. And that's probably not something a team that's just coming together needs. But the Big Ten is just going to be a big question mark this year.
Yep, there's a good chance it's going to be that way here for a bit, especially again with the new teams and the interesting decision to not allow every team even in the conference tournament. You're only playing 3 teams twice, so it's going to be pretty wild. But I agree with you. Hopefully Indiana does not have. Oh, my dog's going off. Sorry about that. Hopefully my
mailman.
1 second.
It's all right. Mailman. Don't bite the mailman. But
I think now's a good time to figure out, when he gets back, we got to figure out Tyler's dog's name. Every time we get the invasive dog barking from a guest, we always find out the dog's name. So now Tyler gets to join that club, I feel like.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet. I've never heard. I didn't know that there was a dog there.
Maybe it's a new dog. It sounded like, if we're guessing the breed, it definitely sounds in the vein of like a Yorkie or a Chihuahua, if you're asking me.
No doubt.
Tyler, what kind of dog you got there, and what's his or her name?
That's a Schnauzer. His name's Gilmore, and
oh boy,
he goes off often.
Gilmore is a wonderful Schnauzer name, by the way. I'll go ahead and give you that.
What was that again?
John? Gilmore.
Oh, Gilmore is the perfect name for a Schnauzer, I feel like.
Oh man, those Schnauzers are protective, buddy. That is hilarious. Gilmore, that's funny. What a great name. Yeah. Gilmore's been pretty good. I never know that. There you go. Philip says Indiana Sports Bark Radio. That's funny. That's pretty quick, Philip. I got to give you that. That's pretty fast. Yeah, happy Gilmore. Is he? I hope he's happy.
That was part of the thinking for the name. So it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, Mike says that dogs like to give me their opinion. That's right along the right line there, Mike. You're right on board. What were we talking about? The Big Ten and just a gigantic question mark. It's because there's so many new things. Number one, no Zach Edey. And Purdue with Zach Edey is going to be exposed, in my opinion, to be a regular basketball team. Their vaunted guards, I think, they're going to be in their third year, and of course, should improve as well. You've got Trey Kaufman-Renn, who his role picked up substantially last year and will do so again next year. But that's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be shown to be very, very mortal without that immovable object that is Mount Edey. So the Big Ten is wide open for any and everybody. And Michigan is going to be what's Dusty May. He's put together a good run, obviously. Was on that list I just mentioned a minute ago at number 4 of teams that have rankings in the overall transfer portal activity. So it's going to be an interesting year and a good opportunity for Indiana to be able to get back to the top of conference play. But you can't count out just because I don't know what Iowa's going to be like, Michigan State. So Ohio State, I've talked about them, that run that they made at the end of last season. So it's just going to be, I have no idea right now. And I don't know. And I've really not seen anybody make predictions on it.
Yeah, a little early for that. I mean, you've got your way early type stuff that is tough to do. But I think Purdue's still going to be a good team. Obviously, the coaching, the history there. Agree with you. They're going to take a step back. It's going to be awfully difficult for them to, get back to the level that they've been the last couple of years. I could see them being still, a ranked team, for sure, tournament team, possibly contending for a Big Ten title. I think they'll be really solid. But yeah, that was probably their opportunity to win the whole thing. Came awfully close. Yeah, I'm excited, for Indiana to have all these changes, for it to be kind of a transition year for the conference. And for them to have that opportunity is exciting for fans. It's exciting for the conference to see what happens and how it all shakes out. There's a lot of guys that have transferred places or that are freshmen that maybe don't even have that high of rankings because of where they were, but now they're going to get an opportunity and they're going to step their game up and come out of nowhere, and it's going to help those programs. So great opportunity lying ahead for the Hoosiers.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever is happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.